Alright, so I'm going to review something from Transformers that doesn't suck. This is an IDW comic called Transformers: The War Within. Now, Transformers: The War Within is basically one huge prelude to the Transformers G1 series, and probably more likely all of the IDW comics. This was written by Simon Furman, who I call the Chris Claremont of the Transformers universe. Everything Transformers, for the most part, was written, or everything from IDW, Simon Furman, he writes. He writes a majority of the Transformers comics, like a large amount of them. Second only to probably Sean McCarthy. Well, actually, Sean McCarthy's the second most who writes stuff. But Simon Furman's more or less the Chris... I call him the Chris Claremont of Transformers comics. He's really extended upon the Transformers universe, and he proves that he really has a lot of love for these characters in The War Within. Now, The War Within, like I said, is a huge prelude to the G1 series. In fact, all of the series. It basically talks about Optimus finally becoming Prime. Now, Sentinel Prime, it starts out with Sentinel Prime is dead. Megatron killed him in a fight, and it was actually, they kind of talk about it. Optimus is told this when Sentinel Prime's dead. Like, it's very gratuitous. Like, they go into description. They don't show it, but they just go into description as this one Autobot's talking to Optimus. Who, by the way, Optimus, before he even became Prime, in this series, other than War for Cybertron, in this series, in Transformers: The War Within, he's not like a soldier or anything. He's a mortician. What's the word I'm looking for? He's an accountant of people's bodies, basically. He's a caretaker. Optimus is a caretaker. And a fellow Autobot's telling him, hey, Megatron did this to Sentinel Prime before he died, and Megatron did this to Sentinel Prime when he died. And then suddenly Optimus, there's no you can almost tell there's no emotion to his voice when he says it. Like, they say a lot of things, don't they, about how Megatron killed Sentinel. Like, yeah, this is the Optimus we're working with. Also, I'd like to add that all the other Autobots we see throughout the series they're very war-torn. They're exhausted. They're on the brink of just giving up. I mean, the Decepticons are more or less winning the war with the Autobots. And, man, they get their ass kicked a lot. Also, I'd like to add that a lot of the one thing I love about the IDW Transformers comics is that all their artwork, a majority of their artwork is very digital. And it looks beautiful. It's not like crappy digital artwork you see in most early comics. In this it looks especially for Transformers, it looks absolutely beautiful for this, for these comics. And the Cybertronian looks for the Autobots is amazing. I mean, look at Optimus right here. Now, this basically talks about like I said, this focuses on Optimus, and when he's chosen to become Prime, he's given the Matrix of Leadership, and he becomes Optimus Prime. But instead of, like, okay, we're going to take the fight to them, we're going to take on the Decepticons, we're just going to, ram it right back up Megatron's ass. Nope, it's not like that. This is right when Optimus becomes leader, and and this is not like the Optimus Prime that, this is not the Optimus that we all know. This is an Optimus before he became the badass leader that he is. Oh wait, I'm thinking of the Bayformer Optimus. I mean the calm, cool, and collected, awesome leader of the Autobots. This is basically, he didn't want to become a Prime. He didn't want to become Prime. He wanted just to be, in fact, he thought, for the most part, Optimus thought the war was pointless. And, a lot of people, including Grimlock, yes, Grimlock is in here, but he's not a Dinobot. And they don't really explain why Grimlock's here. Grimlock, if anything, his vehicle form looks like a bulldozer. And also, Grimlock in here, in this occupation, before he became a soldier for the Autobots, he was a gladiator. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, Grimlock. And he actually has, Grimlock has the most badass line in here. He said, when Ironhide is working with Grimlock and a small group of Autobots trying to find Optimus, and I'll explain in a minute, Ironhide, just eggs on Grimlock to the point where Grimlock punches Ironhide in the face and goes, "Me, Grimlock, badass!" That is so Grimlock. But anyway, Now, getting back to Optimus Prime. Now, Optimus in here, he doesn't care about the war. He just thinks it's pointless. In fact, he even says, okay, you win, Decepticons. We're going. You know, you want the planet so damn bad. We're giving it to you. You can have Cybertron. But then something happened, some things happen, and if anything, we also get a perspective of Megatron. And Megatron actually has a vehicle form in here. He actually has a tank vehicle form. I don't know how it got switched to a gun. But it's minor gripes I have. In fact, War Within, this is just the first volume. But you can pretty much read this whole book and basically like, okay, now I get it. But there are actually this is just volume 1 I'm going to be talking about. There are about 2 other, there's actually one other volume that explains a little more, but I only have volume 1. But yeah, Optimus actually goes to look for the core of Cybertron, if I remember right, and so does Megatron. He wants to find this thing called the Matrix. Not the Matrix exactly, but something akin to the Allspark, more or less. He wants to find it and use it. And Starscream is in here, and Starscream is treated like the awesome bastard that he is. Actually tries to sabotage a fight between Optimus and Megatron. Their first, actually in here chronicles the first battle between Optimus and Megatron, and Optimus gets his ass whooped. I'm not gonna lie. In the first fight, Megatron whoops his ass. I mean, the only way, you know, Optimus actually manages to survive is actually tricking Megatron. And Optimus actually takes on Soundwave in his Soundwave by himself. In fact, if anything, Optimus is actually, Soundwave is sent to kill Optimus along with Ravage and the rest of them, but then suddenly Optimus gets the drop on him and takes him down. He grabs Soundwave and looks in the camera and says, Megatron, if you have something to say to me, you say it yourself, and smashes Soundwave into a wall. Doesn't kill him, but he really messes him up. Now, there's a lot of cool moments. I mean, while this is all going, there's a lot of things going on, actually. And it feels like, for the most part, this whole novel right here, I got it in trade, but, War Within plays out like one big movie, like one big cinematic movie in the novel. I know I say that about a lot of graphic novels, in trade back, but this one actually feels like, you know, something that should have been the Michael Bay movies. I know I had to shout that, but hopefully Michael Bay, while he's rolling around in unneeded money, he'll probably hear that and be like, I sense a disturbance. Yeah, I'm having fun here, leave me alone. But yeah, this is what should have been the Transformers movies in general. I mean, War for Cybertron is something, actually, if anything, War for Cybertron is actually really close to this. I'm talking about the video game Transformers: The War for Cybertron. That game is actually based really close to The War Within. I mean, even the character designs. I mean, the designs for the characters is very War Within heavy. So, if anything, this is actually my first Transformers book I got. I mean, I was always a fan of Transformers, but this was actually my first Transformers comic book that I ever got. And I love it. I truly do. It's a great piece to the Transformers mythos. It's just all around fantastic. I wish I could talk about more, but it's really hard to explain at some points. I just wanted to talk about the general feel of it. There's actually a great fight scene between. There's actually 3 times Megatron and Optimus fight, and all 3 of those fights are just awesome. Although Optimus gets his ass whooped the first time, but the next 2 times he just beats the shit out of Megatron. But this is an all-around War Within, first Volume 1. In fact, actually, you could probably pick up Volume 1 and get a gist of Transformers. If you're just trying to get into Transformers and not talk about the piece of shit movies from Michael Bay, and you want to get into Transformers, comic-wise or any-wise, I'd definitely say this should be, The War Within should be like a startup point. That and the G1 80s cartoons, that or Transformers Prime, I guess. One of those 3, but if you want to get in comic-wise, I'd definitely say start with The War Within. It's just an awesome piece. You don't really need to be a diehard Transformers fan to read it, so most definitely, I'd say start with The War Within. And the 80s cartoon, of course. But, this is just, all around awesome. I wish I could say more. I'm just basically talking about some plot lines here and there. There's a lot more stuff. I mean, Starscream has a huge role in here, by the way. Shockwave has a huge role in here, more than he did in the Dark of the Moon movie. But it doesn't really it focuses on Grimlock and Optimus for the most part. As far as Autobots go, it focuses for the most part on Grimlock and Optimus. But it does show, Prowl and Bumblebee and Ratchet and Ironhide. I said Prowl. And a lot of the other, G1 Transformers. But yeah, for the most part, you can pretty much read the first volume and get the Transformers. Basically, you can understand Transformers from this, but it doesn't really explain how Grimlock went from an Autobot to a Dinobot, or anything on Grimlock, or Megatron's gun form. Basically, what else was there? There was another thing. Excuse me, I got a bit of a headache here and a bit of a runny nose. But yeah, definitely this gets a 5 out of 5. Hell of a lot better than all 3 of the Transformer Michael Bay movies. But yeah, I definitely say pick this up. In fact, I'm really hoping my friend Tori GNR1 is listening, because he's not much of a Transformers fan. So and we talked about this. We talked about stuff to get into for Transformers, and I mentioned this. So, Tori, I hope you're watching, because you will really like The War Within, especially Volume 1. But anyway, I'm out.